Volkswagen was sued by Czechoslovakian car maker Tatra before WW2 because the original Beetle was so similar to the Tatra T97. Almost messed that up. After Germany invaded Czechoslovakia in 1938, the lawsuit was canceled by the No-No Germans. Alright, I gotta admit, it does look very similar to the Beetle, at least the front part does. There's this like interesting tail in the back though. I think it gives it a little bit more personality. Alright, the prototype of this car looks literally exactly like the Beetle. Once again, another thing the No-No Germans took away from us. If they never invaded Czechoslovakia, maybe this would be all over the roads right now. Poland in 1918, after 123 years of foreign occupation. We're back now, y'all. But since we were on the subject of WW2, that wouldn't be for too long. It was gonna happen again. The US won the space race, little brain. The USSR won the space race, bigger brain. Germany won the space race, even bigger brain. But finally, the galaxy brain, Ohio won the space race. No, it can't be true! My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. I guess if they were gonna send anyone to a random rock floating around in space, it would be an Ohioan. Nobody supports Ukraine like us. We gave 30 Abrams in 30 months. Oh yeah? Well, we'll deliver 14 Challengers in 2 months. Meanwhile, Canada, we've got 4 Leopards and they'll be there tomorrow. Nice, responds Ukraine. It ain't much, but it's honest work and it's gonna be there tomorrow. I think I'd rather get the one-click next-day delivery. Hate ordering a package on Amazon and having to wait 3 months. Times Canada has won the Super Bowl, 0. Times the US has won the Stanley Cup, plus 30. Are you guys even trying? I understand this is a joke, but I'm excited for the inevitable day that the NFL eventually expands into Canada. I would imagine there's gonna be a team up there at some point in the future. I mean, if the NBA have the Toronto Raptors, then I feel like this is only a matter of time. 6-year-old me, after learning that Washington, D.C. is not in the state of Washington, impossible. Sadly, I'm fairly certain there are a lot of US adults still walking around to this day that don't realize Washington, D.C. is not in the state of Washington. I'm afraid to even admit when I found out Washington, D.C. wasn't in Washington. I definitely wasn't anywhere near as young as 6, that's for sure. I might have been like 18. I always thought the city was just called D.C. and it was in Washington State. It made a lot of sense to me. I just want to know if our capital was Washington, D.C. when we were expanding out towards the west. Why did we think it was a good idea to name a state Washington? Did we not think it was going to confuse some people or what? It seems a little logical that it would be a little complicated. Obviously, the state of Washington is named after our first president, George Washington. We were going to name it Columbia for the Columbia River, though. That sounds pretty simple. But then this dude thought that would be too similar to the District of Columbia. D.C., Washington, D.C. So instead of naming it Columbia because it was too close to Washington, D.C., we named it Washington. I just cannot believe this. The way NATO portrays itself, the official NATO Twitter account tweeting, "We are Harry Potter and William Wallace, the Na'vi and Han Solo. We're escaping from Shawshank and blowing up the Death Star. We're fighting with the..." Oh my goodness, this is hard to read. I actually saw this firsthand on Twitter too. I could not believe it. Meanwhile, the way Chinese cartoons portrays NATO, they literally have like an anime of all of us. The Red Bull is Spain, the cat is Germany, the wolf is Italy, the bull is the UK, and of course the bald eagle is America. What's funny is they probably aren't even trying to make us look cool. They just accidentally did that. Also love that we've had country balls and country humans. Now get ready for country animals. Yo, seriously though, someone needs to tell the person that's running the NATO Twitter account to stop. Germany and Poland being on the same side during WW3. Hey, look at us. Who would have guessed it? Not me. Not me. You can literally hear him saying it. This is definitely a strange turn of events. I will say that. World War III starting to form some real interesting teams. Serbia supports Russia and starts tensions with Kosovo. Meanwhile, the EU, you know what? I'm gonna throw funds at them even harder. Looks like Kosovo memes are only gonna continue to get more exposure. I don't think they're going away anytime soon. Good British food. We have fried and breaded cod and fries. Meanwhile, good American food. Hamburgers stolen from Germany. Pizza stolen from Italy. Macaroni and cheese stolen from England. Hot dogs, also Germany. But you forget our secret ingredient, and that's just like throwing a bunch of really unhealthy stuff on it that will probably shave a couple years off your life. We steal it and then make it 10 times more unhealthy, but it tastes different. Some would say it tastes better. Oh, we have a trade offer. I receive music from the Beatles, Queen, the Smiths, Pink Floyd, Radiohead, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and a good trillion other successful bands from the UK. Meanwhile, you receive Mr. Brightside, one Killer's hit song, and it's become like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say the white people anthem. It just doesn't go away. It does not go away. It's been around for like 20 years. Not that this music's been around for less, it's actually been around for even longer. The thing is, Mr. Brightside has stayed on top of the UK charts for years. In 2021, it became the longest longest-running chart hit with 260 non-consecutive weeks, a full 5 years on the national singles chart. American viewers when their favorite sitcom is finally ending. Meanwhile, British viewers when their favorite sitcom only has 12 episodes. That's how you know it's gonna be good. They only need 12 episodes to make a lasting impact. German is such a nice language. Meanwhile, the Austrians. And what's funny about this is I've literally just heard recently that Austrians supposedly speak German in a much more musical way, at least according to Christoph Waltz. That's what he said. This is my neighbor, says Malta to Cyprus. He's a pain. I get colonized by the British. He gets colonized by the British. I join the EU. He joined the EU. I have a country with no territorial disputes. He cannot afford great success. Yeah, Cyprus has been quite a mess for a while now. Although I gotta admit, it's a little bit easier for Malta to lie low. I oftentimes kind of forget about them down here south of Italy. You can't really miss Cyprus though. They're a lot bigger and just in an interesting spot. Plan to resolve the Cyprus conflict. We have before versus after. That's one way to fix everything. Just give it all to Serbia. Why did no one think of this before? We understand each other perfectly, but we're 4 different languages, bro. Trust me, says Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, and Montenegro. I have no idea what the frick my neighbor is saying, but we all speak the same language, bro. Trust me. Pretty impressive too, because this stretches into 2 separate continents. Meanwhile, these guys all formerly a part of Yugoslavia. I mean, yes, it makes sense. I wish I could understand Arabic just to see how drastically different some of these accents are. I mean, I guess we already have our answers to that. They're so different that you can barely understand them. Fascism entering my body as soon as I see somebody cook pasta the wrong way. True story, this is exactly why Italy went fascist back in the 20s. That's why they decided to put this guy in charge. As long as you do not cut the noodles before you cook them, nothing else matters. English swear words, aw, cute. German swear words, a little bit scarier. Russian swear words, just a straight up dragon. Finally, the Italians, who literally created a second category of swear words to insult, what? Whoa, what is going on here, Italy? I don't even think I'm allowed to even look into this. Ooh, another chart to show the meaning of a raised arm. Obviously, at this angle, you're resting. At this angle, you're petting a dog. At the 4 o'clock range, you're just putting your hand there to pet a child. And at the 3 o'clock, you're trying to call a taxi. Meanwhile, anything in this zone makes you immediately Argentinian, with quite likely some ancestry from Germany. Maybe they came in the 40s, something like that. Meanwhile, at the top, yeah, you're just trying to call for a waiter, I see. Again, just be careful. Don't put your hand too high straight up like this. People might get the wrong idea. You might think you have an Argentinian grandpa. Names given by different countries for whirlwinds. Of course, we all know hurricane. Then there's also the popular typhoon. And then finally there's Willy Willies. I don't even need to look this up. I already know it's coming from you, Australia. It just screams Australian for some reason. Willy Willies is the plural. It's actually Willy Willy. I know these as dust devils, or I guess, yeah, they also can be considered as like tropical cyclones. That's the other word for them. How did Willy Willy come about? The world's ending. I wonder if I'm gonna go to heaven, or maybe to hell. I mean, as a masochist, I wouldn't complain. Wait, what? No! Anywhere but that limbo place. Imagine being sent to northern Belgium. What a cruel and unusual punishment. Most of the Western European countries, respectful argument. Meanwhile, what France and the UK do. And the funny thing about this, as it's been going on for like 1,000 years, you would think that it would slowly become more civilized, but I guess not. Survived the Franco-Prussian War, survived WW1, survived WW2, saw the rise and fall of 2 German Reichs, consistent with one thing throughout his entire life, and that is frick France. Every year that went by, it was always about putting France down. This man was a legendary German field marshal, very successful during WW1, and he was a committed monarchist during WW2, sometimes even showing up in his WW1 outfit. German WW1 songs, very depressing, versus British WW1 songs. Oh, it's a lovely war. Probably makes it a little bit easier for people to join when you sing happy songs rather than, you know, depressing ones. How Europeans measure people versus how Americans measure people. This is what we prefer. This is what we like. Finally, the truth has come out. That's why we're never going to change. The UK takes him in while his country is occupied, meanwhile creates the EU after liberation, refuses to let the UK join. This is Charles de Gaulle of France during WW2. They ended up not joining until January 1st, 1973. And then we all know they kind of left it, so yeah. Americans angry at other Americans for calling every type of soda Coke. Meanwhile, the Czechs calling every type of soda lemonade. It is a very popular thing to do in the South. A lot of them do call every soda just a Coke. Can I get a Coke? A Sprite, please. Can't imagine what it'd be like. Can I get a lemonade? A lemonade Coke? The nuclear ultra hardcore super energy power plants and coal eaters in in the V4. V4, of course, being Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, and then Poland, which I guess they're not hardcore nuclear eaters. What exactly is Poland doing over here for energy then? Poland currently operates a single research reactor, but it has no operational nuclear reactors for power production. I guess they might be trying to change that by 2026 though. We understand each other perfectly, but we are two different languages, bro, trust me, says India and Pakistan. I have no idea what the frick my neighbor is saying, but we all speak the same language, trust me, bro. Again, this with Arabic, but this time we're comparing India and Pakistan. According to this, if you sat a Hindi and an Urdu speaker next to each other in a bar and asked them to have a 10-minute conversation in their native tongues, chances are both would understand each other without hesitation. I did not know this. Our hero wields a hammer, says this Danish and Norwegian man, referring to Big Bad Thor up here. Meanwhile, in America, that's cute, our hero has two. Oh yeah, and don't forget about a big giant dog for some reason. Oh wait, I thought we were talking about somebody else. I need to brush up on my American folklore characters. And big thanks to my patrons. Drew, I forgot to kidnap you. Next date is March 19th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Boy, do I love Arby's. Drew's Eritrean grandma. Portugal is not Drew's Balkans. Argentinian grandpa. $20 is a lot, Drew. aPhatNarwhal. Bryton is the Caleb, best. The Mexican 760. Jack Traven's annoying John friend. Denver, Luxembourg, 560. Robert Animations. The Weekend. The Great Commonwealth. Twickenhamster. And ZaneyBoi.